Good afternoon, everyone. I know it has been a very long day for all of you, but today we're not going to speak really about technology. We're going to speak about entrepreneurship and the role of women in the future of Africa and leadership. And as I was coming from New York to South Africa, I was thinking exactly what kind of message I wanted to deliver. And this message can change because it's true that when you come to the continent, and because I was engaged in different conversations, I realized that it's not all about the data about the situations. It is really true that women culturally face barriers in Africa still. If we compare the amount of boys and girls enrolled in a school, 88% of boys are enrolled in primary school, and only 77 of girls are enrolled in school. It is also true that we're having some restrictions when it comes to inherited rights, and women own less land than men in Africa. But with all these challenges, the truth is that African women have always been entrepreneurs. We have an entrepreneurship mindset. And even in the rural areas, most women are the farmers, and also they are engaged in agriculture. So it is a extremely woman power. So there is no reason why, for the future of Africa, there is we could not left behind or ignore half of the population of Africa, which is women. And when it comes to inclusion policies and all these restrictions that we have in the culture, it is true that it's programs right now and that the perspective is changing in order to be more inclusive and integrate women in the shape of African economy and the development. There is programs like Empretec. This is a program that I'm involved with. That basically what we do is to create a platform for women to shine in entrepreneurship. How we do this? Well, we provide women with the funding that they need to start up. But not only that, also we force them to be 3 months in our centers in order to get the education that they need, because we have realized that it's okay to give them the money to the startups to start their business adventures. But the truth of the matter is that if you're not having the proper training, it is very probable that you lose at the end of the day in 2 or 3 years your companies and you're not able to achieve your dreams. So for us, it's very important to go through the way with these women in order for them to achieve these dreams. One of the problems that we have in countries, of course, the lack of funding is one of the big issues. Another is the administrative restrictions, the infrastructure, and the communications barriers, because in certain areas there is not definitely access to education, also the infrastructure and the transportation. But also there is different programs that the African Union actually is trying to implement, and they want to change the situation in order to bring this to an end. And maybe it's not easy to do that, but I also believe that the private sector should be more involved in changing the picture, because sometimes we relying a lot in the governments and we always thinking that they have to solve all the problems. And I think that the way that we understand structures, we have to change, because now we have to kind of rethink the way that we portray Africa, and we have to rely in bringing things from the grassroots. And there is programs of doing that and already extremely successful in order to empower women. And when we empower women, it's not only about empowering women, also we have to empower boys, because I believe every man is part of a woman. So it's also our work to empower both boys and girls at the same time. And it's all a matter of education. I think the digital era is so exciting, and I think events like this are so instrumental in order to give us a different perspective. And why I'm saying that is because in this economic growth that the digital era in Africa is bringing, women have to be part of it. There is not enough girls engaged in science, technology, and innovation. And it's not only in Africa, actually, also in the Western world, There is always this fear about math and science in women, so it's something that we have to do at all levels. But in Africa, it's even more important to do so. So that's why it's good to have this encouragement and empower and training programs for women to be more involved in a science, technology, and innovation. I think that what is really important to see is that we are living an exciting time because the structures that they are in the Western world are archaic. Some of them they're not working. And in Africa, we have everything fresh. So now is a time in order to really think what is the solutions to our problems, and technology could provide that. Also, there is problems that are only specifically for women. For example, the issue of reproduction. Still, almost 500,000 women die because of pregnancy or because reproduction problems. How could we solve that? There should be more women in research and development in order to solve these problems. So that's the reason why we could not really advance without the involvement of women, and that's why inclusion and integration is so important, because we only could do this together, hand by hand, women and men together. And when it comes to leadership, we only could do that through self-mastery. And that's what I want to speak, not only from the woman perspective, also for men. And what means self-mastery? Means how we think. I believe that our thoughts become our words become our actions becomes our behaviors really become our character, and character defines your destiny. So you could not be a leader if you don't start to really watch yourself. How do you think? And that's what I want to speak about, the way African women think. We have to watch the internal dialogue that is going into our minds. We have a tendency in Africa to be self-conscious about ourselves. We don't want to be portrayed like champions, like heroes. The internal dialogue that is going on with ourselves is that we're not good enough. So we definitely have to change that. Because if our thoughts, it's a reflection of your life, then it's very difficult to change our lives if we don't change the way we think. Another thing that we need to do is to be in peace with the past. It is true that women, we've been oppressed before. It is true that we're still facing several cultural barriers, but this is past. We could not allow that our past experiences define our future. And that is part of leadership. We have to move forward. We have to let it go and move forward. Where do we want to be? The third one is we have to be proactive. You have to definitely be the actor, not the spectator. You have to make sure that you do one step at a time. Each day of your life is your masterpiece. So that's how a leader and an entrepreneur think. Another thing is, are we being optimistic? I totally consider myself Afro-optimistic. Sometimes when you go to these forums, everybody speaks about the problems. And it's true, we do have them. But why we don't speak about these problems from the opportunity perspective? Because all of these problems are really opportunities. And it's our job to find these solutions to these problems. And technology is actually one of the best tools that we have right now. And because now we have a whole wide of opportunities in front of us, there is a space for all of us. The way that we understand employment and the creation of jobs is changing. We could not think like we thought before. The blue collars, the white collars, all of this is out. is changing. Now we have to create our own jobs. And innovation is what is really companies are looking for. And this is the only way that we could do that. It's really to change the way we think. So it's great to be an entrepreneur and it's great to be an innovator, but what it takes to be that is to be opportunistic. It's an opportunistic mindset what makes a really an innovator person. So you have a sense of a smell to identify the lacks in the system, and that is where you see an opportunity. Another thing is, I, a lot of people believe that training and studying education is not so important because in the era of technology, we have heard so many stories about dropout geniuses that they became extremely millionaires with an app and with whatever. But the truth is that this is the lowest in the statistics. Most of the people who are innovators and entrepreneurs is people who dedicate a lot of time to study and to become experts in what they do. And another thing is proactivity and determination, and to have a non give up mentality. That is exactly what makes the difference. And the most important one is the social capital, because always we're speaking about the lack of funding, and it's one of the biggest complaints. But in order to solve that, an entrepreneur always go back to the networks, and its people extremely connected, and they go and find the resources that they need within the networks in order to make sure that they achieve their dreams. And in order to do that, you also have to have a leader mentality. People have to believe in yourself. But in order for people to believe in yourself, you have to believe in yourself by first you. So that's why it's so important that you visualize where do you want to be. I met a lot of entrepreneurs in my life, and I met a lot of women in the more rural areas that you could believe. And I have seen their projects from the very beginning. Recently, I was in Zimbabwe, and I visited one of the women who I have the possibility to meet years ago, who was part of the Empretec program. And today, she's one of the most successful women in Africa and one of the leaders in Africa. She had a company that started in the kitchen, it's called Securico. And she started this company in security when nobody thought about security. And she did the program in Empretec. She was making sure that the lack of education that she has, she will compensate that. But what it makes the difference here is the way she thinks. She saw herself in the other side. She saw herself at the top of the mountain. And that is really what we have to do. We have to see men and women in Africa ourselves in the top of the mountain because we have a wonderful future in front of us. So I invite you to think this way, and I invite all the women also to work together. And instead of seeing ourselves like competition, like a threat, we should work together, hand by hand. It's so important that we have these networks where we support each other. I had a perfect example a few minutes ago with Deshawn, the, the following speaker. She was so generous. We spoke about our experiences, about businesses, and she was able to share tips about how to communicate better, how to put the message out there. So that is exactly what I'm looking for. More women like Deshawn, who is able to just give me a hand, give me the tips, and I saw in her a great partner, a friend, and someone who could inspire me. And I would like to share with you a video because this is the end of my presentation. to inspire everyone. It's a video about women who have made a difference, and I would like to share this with you. Thank you.
Future of Africa depends upon its ability to unshackle the potential of half of its population. African countries cannot succeed if they continue treating women in a marginalized